Welcome to America at Play. I'm your host, Butch Cons, and my co host is Air Force veteran Chris Cooper. Our special guest tonight is Purple Heart and Combat Infantry Badge recipient and Army Specialist of 4 years, as well as a great American hero and a super dad. And his name is Teddy Daniels. And we are here to talk about military experiences and veteran issues. And everybody, welcome to the show and happy St. Patty's Day. Can everybody hear?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here, brother. That was
All right. I'm gonna start out with Teddy on this. Chris, I'm gonna have you follow him. Mm-hmm. Teddy, talk about some experiences when you were in the service.
Well, brother, first, thanks for the intro. That was badass. You forgot my nickname, which is Big Sexxy, and
I did. I didn't know that. It's what?
Big Sexxy, brother. I'm 6'4", okay, built like steel with sex appeal, okay. So that's how I roll.
I'll remember that next time.
So, all right. So my experiences were a little different, brother. I went in at 36 years old. I went to Fort Benning at 36. I had a 15-year law enforcement career behind me before I went active duty military. So not bog sexy. It's big sexy.
What made you? What made you go into the military at that age?
Brother, so both of my grandfathers served. I had uncles that served. My one grandfather fought with the Marines in the South Pacific during World War II. My other one was Army infantry, lost a leg on the D-Day invasion. And, I always felt like I never really did my part. When I was a kid, I was not a goody two-shoes kid. I ended up getting sent to Valley Forge Military Academy. If you had ever seen the movie Taps, that's where it was filmed. And from there, I got a football scholarship. I played football at West Virginia University. I was a starting guard there. And I tore my shoulder up going into my junior year. So I walked into a Marine Corps recruiter with a torn rotator cuff and was just unable to do it at that point. And brother, like coming from D1 football right into the military, like you talk about best shape of my life. That was the best shape of my life. And
I can imagine.
So I went and became a cop. And I did everything that you could do in law enforcement. I was a hand-to-hand combat instructor, special weapons operator, did a lot of narcotics work. I loved it. I absolutely love police work. And then I found myself as a deputy chief of police wearing the white shirt and the gold badge with my little office in the back of the station. And, I'm doing inspections at roll call and I'm reviewing reports and warrants and scheduling shifts. And I was 35 years old. And I thought to myself, have I peaked? Is this it? Like, are my best years behind me? And, Butch, I felt like I still had something to prove, not to anybody else, but to myself. And I've always been a run and gun type of guy. Like, I'm not a low energy dude. And I wanted to see if I still had it. So I didn't go buy the freaking convertible Corvette or any other stuff. And funny story, when I walked into the recruiter's office at 35, I first walked into the Marine Corps recruiter. And the sergeant in there looks at me. He goes, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 27. Or I'm sorry. I said, "I'm 35. He goes, "Our cutoff's 27. Try next door, though. The Army will probably take you." So I walk into the Army recruiter, and there's two sergeants sitting in there. And I walk in, they stand up, they come over, they shake my hand, and they go, "How you doing, sir? Whose father are you?" And I told them, "No, I want to enlist. So they put me right on a bus to go take the ASVAB test, came back, and they sat me down, and they said, and it's funny because they were calling all these other kids by their first names, but I was Mr. Daniels. And like I was the old guy before I even showed up, brother. And they told me, they were like, Mr. Daniels, you can do any job you want to do in the military. You name it, you can do it. Your scores came back great. You know, you want to be a computer tech, you want to work Intel, you want to work CID, you want to be a bomb technician. Anything you want to do, you qualify to do. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I think I really want to go infantry. And these guys looked at me, Butch, like I had a dick growing out of my forehead. They wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what infantry was. And I said, I'm absolutely sure what it is. And they were like, listen, you know, a guy at your age, like that's hard on your body and everything else. And why don't you go do something a little easier? And guys, I told them, like, I'm not here to do easy. I'm walking away from a career that I absolutely loved. This needs to challenge me, and it needs to mean something to me. So they were like, hey, you just signed your own death warrant doing this. And I got exactly what I wanted. And
Awesome.
yes, that was my whole recruitment station freaking part of the story, brother.
That's a good story. I like that. What about you, Chris?
Well, that's a fantastic story. The you know, when I have a funny one about going through MEPS that I think you would appreciate, Teddy. I was in the National Guard and was stationed in Georgia originally, then Kentucky when my career took me that way, and then transferred back from Kentucky to Georgia, and that's where I wound up my term. But the when I was coming back from Kentucky into Georgia, they made me go back through MEPS, even though I had been in for, I think at that point 10 years. I had to go back in, to have my my physical, and so they said we could bring you back to Kentucky, or you could just go to MEPS. So I'm like, well, it's in Atlanta. I'll just run through there, and oh my goodness, they put us in the line with the recruits, and they were treating them like they were drill instructors. These little nobodies that are processing paperwork, and this guy snapped at me, and I just let it go. I minded my own business, and well, then we get to the desk, and I handed my paperwork over, and that same little idiot looked at my stuff, and he threw it across the room, and he was like, started yelling at me, telling me that I need to have proper paperwork if I wanted to be seen. Da 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 da. He just was going on and on and on, and I went from calm, cool, and collected to I need your supervisor in front of me right now, And he was like, "Who are you to talk to me like that?" I said, "Look, if you looked at the paperwork, you just shoved the paperwork of a sergeant. So I suggest you go pick that shit up and get me your supervisor." And the supervisor came around. He apologized profusely, and I just was going off. I mean, they took me to the side. I was processed through MEPS in about 35 minutes, which normally takes about 4 hours. And but the first thing they checked was my blood pressure. I did not do well with that one, so they waited until the tail end to do it again.
Yeah, that would piss you off, though. That would definitely piss you off.
Yeah, especially
all right.
I think the thing that I think Teddy would probably agree with me. One of the things in the military is sometimes when you give a little bit of power to just somebody that really doesn't deserve it, they take full advantage of it, and it just sends the guys that have been there forever like into Crazyville. It does.
Well, Chris, if I can, go ahead, Butch. I'm sorry.
No, Teddy, go ahead. Go ahead.
So
keep rolling with
I always came from an era And again, I've worked myself up in leadership positions in every career prior to the military. And you want people to respect the person and not the rank. Because if they respect
Absolutely.
the person, they
Mhm.
will go through hell for you.
That's right.
But I agree with everything that you said. One of the big issues that I had was keeping my own ego in check, because I came from I was a major in the police department, to an enlisted E3 in the military, and having 23-year-old E5s come at me. So that was a big ego check for me, brother. It really was. But you got to learn to follow before you can learn to lead. And that has always
Absolutely.
stuck with me.
Makes total sense. What, Chris, was your favorite part of being in the military? We'll let you go first on this one.
Wow. Easily for me, the brotherhood. It's the people that you have something in common with, and we've talked about this on in the past podcast about, when you sign up for the military, it's something bigger than yourself. You're serving something that, and you have that in common with your brothers that are there with you, brothers and sisters. But the reality is you're going through a unique experience that someone else that has a like-minded soul and like-minded ideals, uh, you're in sync, and it creates a quick friendship just because you have those values and those commonalities. But then you start building upon those friendships, and you start seeing them get married and them have kids, and you still stay part of their lives. It by far, that was my favorite thing about serving in the military was, and no one can make you laugh harder than your brother, and nobody can make you cry harder than your brother that you serve with. It's a special bond.
That's cool. That's cool. Teddy, what about you?
Well, again, Butch, due to my situation, I was a lot older. Uh, I got to my unit in Fort Carson, Colorado. I was 36 years old. So I was serving with guys 18, 19, 20 years old. And it was kind of being the father figure that a lot of these young guys didn't have.
Had never
I
had.
don't know how many guys I talked out of. I don't know how many guys I talked out of marrying the stripper or paying 28% interest on the Dodge Charger. And it was like, no shit. I'm telling you, like, these young dudes, like, oh, but she loves me. No, she does not. She loves TRICARE. That's what she loves. She loves base housing. That's what she loves. So, and when these guys would screw up, and these young, like, I look back at when I was 18, 19, 20 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I screwed the pooch a lot when I was that age. So I was older than my first sergeant. I was older than the sergeant majors. I was about the same age as our battalion commander and our brigade commander. Hell, my company commander was only like 27, 28. So when these guys screwed up or they needed advice, they'd come to me. And they were like, Daniels, what do I do? And I'm like, hey, and if you screwed up, you got to go face the music. That's just how it is. But come to me next time before you go do dumb shit. Talk to me before you go do dumb shit. If you're unsure if it's dumb shit, I'll tell you if it's dumb shit or not, because I've probably done it sometime in the past. So it was being that role model and the mentor for the younger guys.
I get that. Okay. What did you guys hate the most about being in the military? Teddy?
Chris touched on this earlier, brother. It was the 22, 23-year-old sergeant, freshly promoted, who had 3 stripes on his arm, had no idea how to handle leadership, accountability, anything. Just, I'm a sergeant now, and I'm going to go like throw my weight around. And like, I was in a position, guys, I was very tight with our brigade and battalion command sergeant majors. They were both big college football fans, same age. They knew my background. They knew where I came from, and they knew why I wanted to be there. So, yeah, they kind of took me under their wing a little bit. And if they saw a freshly promoted E5 trying to run his mouth to me, again, it's the military. You got to shut up and take it. But they would handle it. They would handle it. And word quickly got out, like, don't F with Daniels. Okay. It's like this guy's not like the rest of us. Okay. So like, they did, the higher up chain of command respected my background and respected where I came from. And if they saw any of that stuff going on, they just put an end to it. But I was never the one to step out and be like, hey, you know who you're freaking talking to here? Like, it was like, hey, yes, Sergeant, I'm on it. You know what I mean? Now, later on, close of business, we'd have a talk, and I would talk to them about the responsibilities and the weight and the burden of leadership and how to execute that properly. So, but never in front of anybody else. I never criticized or critiqued anybody in front of anybody else. Now, I had one when I first got to my unit. He was my team leader, Josh Owens, 22, 23 years old. Amazing guy. Amazing guy. We played the game when we had to, but outside of that, it was, hey, Josh, hey, Ted, but we played the game in front of everybody else. But me and him, he was a great guy, great leader. He stayed in for a couple more years, and we still keep in touch today.
Awesome. How many, this is for both you guys, I don't care who answers it first or not, how many of your comrades in the military are you still in touch with?
Chris, go ahead, brother.
Ready?
I probably keep close tabs on about 10 guys that I've served with, and I've been out now for close to 18 years.
Yeah, I've been out.
Awesome.
I've been out about 10 years now, and guys still hit me up. They follow my social media. Whenever I'm coming through an area, my messages will hit up. They're like, hey, stop in, say hi, or didn't know you were here. Because my phone number's changed so many times. So social media, they know how to get in touch with me. And I had a guy served down range in Afghanistan with. He was a comms guy, just had knee surgery. And, we're texting back and forth. We hopped on the phone one night for like 3 hours and like picked up where we left off 10 years ago. So it's good to hear the guys check in. I sold a big diesel truck a couple of years ago, Butch. And the guy that bought it was a guy that I was downrange with, flew in from Texas to buy my truck. So,
oh, really?
I'll say this, and Chris, I'm sure you can agree. There's derelicts out there as well. Like, I served with a bunch of shitheads as well. Okay, and I'm sure you did too. But the good ones I keep in touch with, and the shitheads I don't. So let's put it that way.
I can't imagine why.
I'm a patient, loving
I'll
guy,
tell you.
Butch. Like, I have no idea why people don't want to talk to me.
I was going to say that agreeing with what you said about the downside, for me it was playing the game, or having to play the game. Now the military is managed to the lowest common denominator, and like you just said, Teddy, there are a lot of derelicts in there, so that bar is really low, and so for the ones that are a little swifter and get it, then it's very frustrating. It becomes mind numbing in a way of. So one of the worst things that I remember were the unit inspections. It's not the squad or the things you see on TV. Unit inspections are really like from the top down, how you operate as a unit. So this is like, okay, we're imagining we're deploying. Everybody's getting on the plane. That could be a bus, but you're getting on the plane. And then, okay, now you're in country, and then you simulate every step of the way. So the paperwork people are doing your paperwork. The medical is going through your medical files as if they were deployed. So it's a unit inspection. You have inspectors that are looking every step of the way. And the thing is that the rules, they can ding you on anything. And I used to get so frustrated with that whole process. And one of the guys that was a lot like me, he pulled me aside and he said, "Okay, look, brother, here's the book. Read it for fun, and then you can actually call the inspectors out on how they called it wrong, and here's where it's at in the book. Here's the paragraph. Here, use their following things to a detriment, to their disadvantage." And so that's whenever we took a really bad thing and kind of made it kind of fun, because we started using all their rules against us or against them.
That's great. Teddy, you got a Purple Heart. Tell us about that.
Well, boy, no, I got banged up pretty good in the gunfight, and 28 surgeries.
Where at?
Kunar Province, Afghanistan, brother.
Okay.
We got ambushed on a patrol, and hey, I at the time. Yeah, it was just one of those days, brother. Yeah. It's been a long road back, Butch, and
Okay. I'm
my
sorry, I didn't mean to hit a
heart
nerve.
right now is sitting on. No, it's good, man. It's good. Just I'll tell you what, my April 25th, 2012, had a helmet cam on, and it ended up being the most viewed combat footage ever. The rapper Ice Cube used a cut of it in one of his videos. I was front page Sunday edition, Washington Post, New York Times. Back when Rolling Stone didn't know I was a conservative, was in Rolling Stone. I was invited to Jay Leno, Jimmy Kimmel, all the late night talk shows. I turned it all down. I didn't want anything to do with any of that. I wouldn't change anything I did that day, because 8 of us on that patrol all came home. But
that's good.
That day changed my life. I had my talk with God on that mountain that day, and I thought I was going to go meet my maker. And I can tell you this. I was already hit a couple times. I was bleeding. My rifle got shot out of my hands. Round went through my grenade launcher. I was able to get my rifle back. My foot was broken in 4 spots. Took a round in my left shin, round in the right thigh. Had a round skip off my helmet. Had a round shoot the sunglasses off my face. And I had my talk with God.
Wow.
And I said, okay, if I'm not going back, and if you're going to take me right here today, then I'm okay with that. I got to make peace with it. Just make it happen quick. Like, let me catch one in the face or in the throat. And I stood up from behind that rock and all that gunfire after I was already shot up and started walking towards the enemy down that hill, just returning fire. I had accepted death. I'd made my peace with God. And I made it to the bottom. And I lived, and it was like, okay, the fight is still on. I still had to fight my way off that mountain and back to the truck. Now, the tough part for me was having that talk and accepting death and then not dying. Because I went all the way up to that point that I think very few people in life ever go up to. And that was hard for me. And coming home and dealing with things initially was hard for me. I was not a good person when I came home. It took a lot of work to turn that switch off. And it just, after that incident, I realized that, life can be taken from any one of us at any time. So
Absolutely.
I got a second shot at life. So, like, ask out the pretty girl. Go start the company. Travel. Take the risks. Because it could all be gone. And I was at that point where I'm looking back on my life on that mountain, and I'm thinking to myself, man, there's so much I wanted to do. So I just decided to go do it and not live in fear anymore. Just live like today's your last day on earth, because you never know when it's going to be. I've had some stuff happen since then that kind of threw me back 2 or 3 steps. But after being through that, I don't think there's anything in this world that anybody can throw at me that can break me or make me fold. So it definitely strengthened me. It spiritualized me. And it gave me the realization that the only limits I have in life are the ones set by me. So go live your life.
That's awesome. That's a great story, man. Chris, were you ever in a battle?
No, and mad respect for those that did. That was pretty amazing story, Teddy. I could feel it.
It was.
I get that a lot, though, that from other soldiers that have come home, and I've visited with, talked to, that kind of thing, is that regret whenever you've come to grips with the reality, and it was almost like there wasn't this wasn't part of the plan, now what, so I can, that's not the first time I've heard it, but you made it real for us. I appreciate that.
Well,
Yes.
it's been a journey. It's been a journey. But like I said, it's going out and taking those chances and not being afraid of anything anymore. Like, you ask out the good-looking girl, like, if she says no, is it going to kill you? Like, take that chance, take that shot. And, it's like you never know unless you go try. So, like, Butch, you know this about me. Like, I'm cocky. I'm confident to the point of almost being cocky. Okay. And
Almost, not quite.
People don't know. No, I am, Butch. I can be a dick.
Yeah.
But people don't know the pain that I went through. A little, just a little. People don't know the pain that I went through to have the confidence that I have today. And I think that's where it all stems from, is, God could have taken it. He didn't take it.
Yeah. Well, I think whether you're in the military or not in military, there's certain things in life that can either knock you down and destroy you
Mm-hmm.
or make you stronger and more confident. And it's how you handle them that dictates to which way it goes.
You
I
Absolutely.
know,
know a lot of people. Yeah, I know a lot of people, and Chris, in your business, I'm sure you know this. A lot of people that have a setback and they're done for life.
mhm,
Like they're done.
mhm, mhm,
They,
mhm,
they just crawl in a hole and they're okay with living on Skid Row and that's it. They're done.
mhm,
And I know other
mhm,
people, and I would put myself in this same spot. Is you forced me to fight? We're gonna fight. I'm not gonna
mhm,
lose, and
mhm,
let's rock. And
mhm,
it's the difference, and it's
mhm,
every part of life. I mean, Teddy, you know that. Chris, you know that.
Yep.
It
mhm.
happens in business. It happens in the military. It happens in your personal life. It's all kinds of things. Um, like you and I have talked, Teddy. We have in common, and Chris will share this with you. We both lost our wives when our sons were young. Okay,
Oh, oh,
not far off from the same age, and
Yeah.
mm,
and it's something. That's something right there, as Teddy can attest to, that makes
mhm,
you much stronger, and nothing's
mm,
going to get you down. And in that situation, it's for two reasons. It's for yourself, but it's also you now have sole responsibility
mhm,
for that young child,
mhm.
and you're not going to let anything happen to that young child. And
Right.
I'm my young child is 41 years old now, and I'm still overprotective of a little asshole. So, I mean, it's the way you are. So yeah, I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right, Eddie. Those things, they dictate who you are and how you react to things. Guys,
Well, and
let's
Butch, we talked a lot during that time that I was dealing with that. And you were there
right.
for me, man. Like you really helped keep me in a good spot as all that went down. And I don't know if I ever thanked you for that, but I'm thanking you now.
You
You
know,
know?
well, you're welcome, and you don't have to thank me. And Teddy, I'll tell you how I handled it. And I don't know if I ever shared this with you. My wife could contest to this. We wouldn't be married today had this not happened. Okay. What I did, my son was 8. I coached sports and I had my own
Mhm,
business. So I
Mm-hmm.
threw my entire being into him coaching in my business all the way through college. He moves
mhm,
down here, he moves out of the house. All of a sudden, he doesn't need that. And it was like
mhm,
hitting a brick wall because that was my whole life. Okay. For
mhm,
almost 20 years. 23 years after my wife passed, and she passed of a brain aneurysm, I finally went to a counseling group, a bereavement group.
mhm,
And it was weird because, you got these people in there. When did your spouse die? 6 months ago. When did your spouse die? 3 months ago. When did your spouse die? 23 years ago. They all looked at me like I had 3 heads. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've
mhm,
actually become very good friends with 3 of them. Um,
mhm,
and so as Eileen, they were at our wedding and stuff. But the point is I buried it. And Teddy,
mhm.
you have kicked the door in, which your way of doing it was much better than what my way of doing it was, because I'm sure I missed out on a lot of things because I didn't deal with it. And
Mhm.
it's a tough thing, man. Teddy, you're going through and listen, Teddy, you're not through it yet. You're gonna have times where it's gonna pop up. It's gonna be a certain date,
Oh yeah,
and
I
I'm
know
telling you
that.
this is a friend. It's gonna be a certain date, a certain thing that just kind of triggers something. And but it does get better with time. And let's not end this on a
Well,
poor note.
no, I do want to tell you this though, Butch. Like, yeah, it was a shock, it was a stroke. Okay.
Right.
Um, but the healing process, like I have been broken so many times in life, like I feel so comfortable in pain. I know that sounds morbid, I know that sounds weird, but like I can
What you're
manage
used to.
pain. I've lived it. I've lived it my whole life. But like Butch, I'm recently married. Okay.
Right.
And it's like I was like 85, 90% healed and good. And I met this woman and she's amazing. And I got married. And you know who really helped pull me over that freaking finish line? Who
Who's
really
that?
helped me feel or heal?
God.
It was her. And
Okay. Awesome.
seeing how she is with my son,
Awesome.
and seeing how my son is with her, brother, it like I'm good. Like the acceptance now is there. Okay. Where I'm good.
Right.
Like, yeah, bad shit happens. I'm good. I'm taken care of, and my son's taken care of. And just mentally I'm back, which is just amazing, and it feels great.
It feels totally different, but it does feel great. When I got married to Eileen, hell, I couldn't go past March 7th, which was our anniversary. Every March 7th, my family included, just got the hell away from me because they knew I was going to be a bear for about 3 days. Eileen, I understand what you're saying, Teddy, because Eileen got me out of that.
Yeah.
I got married, found Eileen, got married. We've been together almost 10 years now. Well, we've been together 10 years, married almost 10 years. And it's helped that healing process a lot. It has. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Absolutely.
It gets you. It's that frosting on the cake kind of thing of getting over it.
Yep. And Butch, I'll tell you, like it takes.
Yep.
I'm not a timid guy. It takes a
you
strong
would
person.
you would have fooled me. You would have fooled me, brother.
In the first
You would have
place.
fooled me.
It really does, brother. So I've been blessed.
Listen, here's a question for both of you. What do you think the number one issue that needs to be addressed for guys after the military? Who wants to take this one on first?
I'll run with it for a minute. So I think in prior podcasts we touched on this as well, and I think it is true today as it will be tomorrow. But the biggest thing that I think is helping people detransition, right? I guess throttle down, gear down, because in the military you're geared up. Everything is about the mission. Everything is about purpose. You have a purpose. You have a goal. You have a mission, and everything is judged as such, right? If it's today we're going to be cleaning out a warehouse, then that's the mission. That's the goal. There is a clear directive, and that directive is going to be followed. Then when the guys get out, a lot of times that's lost. There's no guidance. There's no someone to say, here's the purpose. Here's your purpose now is family. Your purpose now is to provide for your family. Everything that you've done in the military, you use those skills that you gain to go to the next step. And whether that's some of the free programs that are out there for tech, and helping people get into, different lines of business, or, if it's a veterans network of jobs that, those are really becoming popular in the South of, veteran owned carpenter that has, side businesses that are popping up, and he needs somebody to run a crew, or, maybe take the next step and take part of that franchise. So it's everything from blue collar to white collar or tech, but to have some kind of mentor, someone to help with them becoming normalized into a non-combat, non-structured world, giving them a little structure around it.
We have talked about that, and Chris, you verbalize that very well. Teddy, what's your thought on that?
Butch, again, like I didn't have any issues getting out. And again, like I said, my case is different. Like I was a civilian as an adult before I went in. So, I had all those life skills. Believe it or not, for the longest time, I missed the thrill of combat. Like there's nothing out there that can give you the type of rush that being in a gunfight gives you. And, you know, I had a little bit of trying to chase that thrill. You know, like I don't do drugs or stuff like that, but like, you know, with motorcycles and fast cars and just doing stuff, just being a little reckless, because when that adrenaline's kicking and the blood's pumping and you have that tunnel vision in your eyes, and like you never feel more alive than you are when you're closest to death. And it was trying to chase that thrill. I think everybody, they have a different experience in the military, and that's going to depend or determine their experience in getting out. I didn't have much of a readjustment issue. It was just I was chasing thrills. I was living life, brother, and doing all the crazy stuff that's associated with it.
Okay. All right, guys, I think this is a pretty good show. Teddy, we're going to wrap this up in a minute. I hope you will come back on the show with us, with Chris and I.
Oh, is that an invite? Is that an invite?
That is an invite, brother. That's an invite. That's an invite. You can. I think you should bring Jack with you the next time, but that's an invite. Guys, when we stop recording, if you guys could just stick around long enough for it to download, it would be appreciated. But other than that, this is a great show, and this is America at Play, and we are out.